Welcome to EDTech Monday Uganda, brought to you by the MasterCard Foundation in partnership with the Innovation Village through the EDTech Lab. EDTech Monday is a platform to engage Uganda's EdTech community and other relevant stakeholders, including government, the private sector, the donors, on the emerging topics of education and how technology can address those challenges. EdTech Monday is held once every month as we dissect the education sector, the future of education, and the available opportunities to grow that sector. In this episode, we continue our collaboration with the World Bank Group, combining two of the use cases, access and relevance, into a topic titled EdTech for the Future of Work. We will answer questions like, how do we use the lessons from remote learning during COVID-19 to reach all the out-of-school youth and increase access to skills and tertiary level training? What would it take to develop digital skills for all the students in the country? And joining me in the studio today are our expert panelists, Mr. Enoch Mutambi, a program coordinator at the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, and Shamim Nirere, a founder at the Izere Education Center. Thank you so much for joining us, our guests today. Enoch, I'd like to start with you. You sit at the Ministry of Gender and Social Development. You work a lot with young people, trying to find opportunities for employment. What have you noticed about the changing nature of work in the country and outside of the country?
Thank you, Raymond. First of all, once again, my name is Enoch Mutambi. I work in the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development under the Green Jobs program. It's true, the nature of work is changing very fast, and largely due to technological change. The jobs that used to be, some of them are no more, and the jobs that we see today as key jobs may actually not exist in future. In fact, IFC 2019 predicts that the people who are starting primary school today, 65% of them will do the work which currently do not exist. So the jobs are changing very fast. Some of you may remember that when some of us were young, a postmaster, that was a big job.
Because of the post office?
For the post office. But now when you talk about the postmaster to the young people, they don't understand what you mean by a postmaster. These are people who transport letters and all that, but these are no more because technology has changed everything. Social media has come in. We no longer write letters that we used to do. And across board, all the jobs are changing. Be it medicine, the medicine as a profession will remain, but the way we practice the medicine profession will automatically change. And it is already changing very fast. The law profession, that job nature, it's changing very fast.
I want to bring Shamim into this conversation. Enoch has laid good groundwork for how the workplaces are changing. What's not changing is the fact that you need to solve a problem to be able to have a job. If someone has knocked another person, that's where a lawyer comes in. You need to solve that problem. In terms of creating new problem solvers and critical thinkers, how have you identified that gap at Izere Education Center?
Thank you very much, Raymond. My name is Shamim Nirere. I am an educator, first of all. And Raymond, when I was teaching, I chose education as the only course. But a few years into the profession, I would be in class. For me, if I was teaching, my primary degree is I'm a languages teacher. So if someone couldn't look me in the eye as they are speaking, that would be a challenge. I would rather leave everything I was teaching and first deal with that communication. So I realized that our children are really gifted, and we are gifted with the young population, but we are not giving them tools to create, tools to think, tools to really be in the driver's seat. Yet, we see that the demographic is young people. Young people. Recently, UNBS said almost half of our population is under 16. That was a major statistic. So if half of our population is under 16 and they're in school, how are we preparing them for the global gig economy that is growing? In 2017, when we worked on our first website, it was done by a 13-year-old. Because the website needs constant redoing, I couldn't get hold of him in 6 months. He was fully booked. So I also had a lot of issues with some designers, and then so someone introduced me to Fiverr, to some global online platform where you go and get freelancers. And we wanted some simple quotations designed for our social media. And for just, I think, less than $15, we were able to get our work delivered in less than 12 hours. And they gave us even bonus. So I was introduced to this world and I said, wow. And this is being dominated by young people from Asia. They're so fast, they're so competent. So I realized that, you know what, our young people, what are we doing with our young people? If we are in classrooms, we are training our young people for the world that really doesn't exist. We are not training them for their world. Their world needs a completely new set of skills. Uganda is a small economy. We need to be training our children to even compete globally on the global economy in a world that is abundant with skills. You're going to university today to get things. You're not learning anything new. People have these skills, so what are you bringing to the table? There's a lot of information online. You're not just coming with information. I need something extra from you. We have a program called Solution Thinkers. And what is interesting, Raymond, that program called Solution Thinkers, we get young people and get them to go through to identify challenges they see in their community, in their home, in their school, in Uganda. And then they brainstorm, they work together as a team, then they pick out one challenge and solve it. You solve that challenge until you actually have a solution. And it has been amazing what children, how they come up with the problem solving, and it challenges them. The idea of them getting solutions and not being told. Sometimes it is hard for them, it's a bit messy, they feel like, but why can't I just go in a textbook and see this and answer? We say, but you have evidence, they make research, they do this. So in the end, they come up with a solution. We so far have 10 solutions in just a span of just 2 years. Solutions which are in community by young people. What it means that right now they realize that we are part of the solution providers in our community. It's developing their mentality to know that I don't have to wait for someone from outside somewhere to come and solve my problems. I have to solve them. It teaches them new skills that if we have, they have developed like an application, they use the digital skills, they have used a water filtration, they have done a water filtration, they have done some vocational. So it's combining skills. We have seen that our children actually have potential to solve these problems. They are critical thinkers, and if we introduce this at a young age, they are in their formative years, it becomes part of who they are. So they are not coming from university to be told that you're not qualified enough.
Enoch, one of the biggest problems you're facing as a ministry is the labor market. It's a really small market. It can't employ everyone. So people are often looking for jobs. And that's brought to life this whole new SME in Uganda, small and medium enterprises, which are solution-driven. Have you seen an element of technology in these SMEs that is sort of increasing employment for young people and creating spaces for them to express their critical thinking abilities?
Yes. And it's true that the labor market is small, and what makes it even more critical is that in the era of globalization, we compete with people from all over the world for the jobs in Uganda. And so as we train, we must train people to be able to take on the jobs, not only in Uganda, but elsewhere, but also be aware that we have competitors from all over the world. Now, it's true you are talking about SMEs, and SMEs are the dominant sector in the country, and they have a potential. Already they are creating many jobs, but we can make them better. And in the area I'll use just a simple example. Look at the motor garages. Many of these motor garages, they are young people who are mechanics. Many of these are people who have dropped out of school, but many of these are actually using technology because, as I said earlier, things are changing very fast. Now, to diagnose the problem with an engine, you need a computer. And many of these young people have learned how to use a computer to diagnose what is the problem with the car engine or any other part, and they do it. They get skilled very, very quickly on the job, and as a result, their employability has actually increased. This creates many more jobs in the sector.
Have you embraced it as a policy, or have you tried to work around policy that improves that environment for young people to test their critical thinking abilities, to improve the employment space?
Yes. As a ministry responsible for labor, we are supporting the SMEs. We are cognizant, especially to the informal sector, that actually 86% of the employment opportunities in the country go to the informal sector. The SMEs, which are informal in nature. Now, what the ministry is doing, under the Green Jobs program, for instance, we have a component of supporting the Jwakaris. We call them Jwakaris. We recognize that they have so many challenges, and we support them in different ways. One of the ways in which we support them is through skilling. We organize them through the associations, industry associations, like the mechanics I've talked about. So we organize them and they get the training using their associations. This training is not the formal training of going to class, but it is a non-formal kind of training. And we organize them through the associations. They get trained. First of all, we identify what is the critical need here. And then after identifying, then they get the training. We organize the training, organize experts who do the training. And then we also emphasize the critical thinking as an area, because many of the challenges that exist actually need critical thinking. Actually, many of the jobs that we all have, we have jobs because they are challenges. And these challenges, every other day, are unique. So the solution used yesterday cannot be the solution for today and tomorrow. So we train them, we organize them, they get trained in critical thinking, how to solve problems, and it is really working.
Shamim, I want you to help us talk about the realities of the inequality in the education system. It's quite easy to say that many young people can access technology and learn with it, but we know for a fact that not all of us have the same amounts of money at our disposal, not all of us have the same resources at our disposal. So it's very possible that there are communities of people who don't have access to technology. How do we approach those communities and how do we help them access technology?
Thank you very much, Raymond. First of all, COVID, in every cloud there's always a silver lining, and as an educator, I feel who is empowering young people for the future of work, I feel like COVID has helped us achieve some gains, like most of our children are now using digital learning, remote learning, and actually distance learning. But then there are this huge population of our young children who have not had access to online learning using different platforms, and they are missing out on the critical digital skills that their age mates are getting. So we are making huge losses, yet we need to level the ground. Education really is supposed to level the ground for everybody, regardless of where you come from. So first of all, we need to really know that the children who are studying online right now, we shouldn't say, let's stop them because the other ones are not studying, because we need those skills. Children are learning. The future of work is remote sometimes and virtual. So the children are learning that it is normal actually to study online. And contrary to popular belief, children actually, even the younger ones, concentrate online. They can really gainfully study. So we are getting those gains. But what do we do? Now we really need to bring the other ones and give them opportunity, and not say that because they don't have the infrastructure, let's just meet them offline. We need to strive in everything we do. Let's get them online, because they are going to learn that I can make a presentation, when I can organize my PowerPoint presentation, I can go and study online myself. They are learning the skill of learning to learn. They are learning a skill of research. They are learning to decipher fake news from real information. They are learning to use the tools of technology. So we need to focus on getting them online. How do we do that? There are platforms, and I would speak to the person in the ministry. I believe that our government has the potential, and I know that they are doing some things in that area to get us to access digital learning offline, maybe without something zero-rated. They can access that information, they can get content online without having to pay for direct internet. We can make sure that we at least in every community, at least let's have some center of learning, some center, maybe a school, maybe a church. Let's get people to be part of this revolution, not waiting for government to give them something. Let's tell them, first educate them, you know, these children need this A, B, and C. How can we contribute, even if a parent is contributing 1,000 a month, to the fact that the child is getting access to that center that has computers, they can buy them a flash disk, maybe at a discount, you know. Simple technologies, and we make sure that our children, even the ones in refugee communities, even in our villages, they have access to digital. They know that I can submit my work online. They know I can collaborate with someone remotely. I can collaborate on a project that is not even in Uganda. We are showing them that it's possible. And technology gives them the creativity and the tools to create. So I would think we have the potential to be deliberate on saying we have those desktops and CPUs in community, in sub-counties. At least I'm sure about that. Our government made sure that government schools have computer laboratories. But right now they are closed because schools are not there. But we have the capacity to get, if government says let's get those computers out of the labs and put them in communities, maybe we provide some solar kits that they can charge if there is no infrastructure of hydroelectricity. Just the thing is, let's not say it's not possible, because those children, our future is young people, and they need those skills. The ground must be leveled at. It's a cost we need to really endure. And
Enoch, before we go for the break, how do we break the inequality cycle in the education space, particularly around education technology?
Yeah, as my colleague has said, really the inequality cycle is huge. And I think I was reading in the papers yesterday, and somebody was writing saying those who access the online learning, the Zoom classes, about 5%, which means that the 95% are actually left behind. So indeed, we need to do something about it, and government is already trying to do a number of things. For instance, if you talk about importation of computers, it is tax-free. Government is also, I think they launched about a year ago, a computer, a laptop making factory, and they have given the investors tax incentives so that we can have as good infrastructure for learning as far as digital skills are concerned. So in my view, government is trying, but of course government still has a number of challenges, but government is doing its best to make sure that this inequality is bridged. But at the same time, other than online learning, you recall that at the first lockdown, there was a lot of learning on TV and radios, and that one also would bridge the gap. But also the reading materials, distribution of reading materials even to the villages, it reduces the gap, the learning gap between those who are able to go online and those who are not able. And with our society, to think that we can immediately go digital for every young child, I think we need a transition period. Really, the internet connection and all that, those are still challenges in many parts of the country. But we can go progressively, we target and aim and say, within these 5 years, this is what we'll achieve. And we go for it. We go progressively. But where in the short run, we cannot reach everywhere, we have reading materials distributed. TVs are used, radios are used. I know even TVs and radios don't reach everyone, but at least we keep, if we move from 10% to 50% to 80%, that's good progress. Continuous progress is...
I would like to say something. Thank you very much for your submission. I like to be a solution thinker. How can we, as Uganda and as Ugandans, adopt the mindset of solving our problems? Local solutions for local challenges. We can't wait for government to do everything, because they're really doing enough, and we appreciate. If we could take this case-by-case basis and say, in this community, in this district, let's take an initiative to say, let's all contribute to the education, to the betterment of education of our children in that community, not in another district, in that community. We get leaders on board, we get parents on board, we get private sector on board. We basically, we are Africans. We have this it's our culture to contribute to things. We can contribute to parties. How come we cannot contribute to a computer in every village? We can do this. People just have to know that they have the power to do that. And the thing of saying we wait for 5 years, we can wait for that, but we do not have the luxury to wait for 5 years. In this global economy, we need to leapfrog some of the challenges and say, let's try to catch up with the world, which is a tall shot, but we need to do it, because if we don't, Raymond, if we do not do that, our children are being left behind like 10 years. They're not going to compete with an Asian who is 14. I like to compare our children and say, if a 9-year-old or 10-year-old or 14-year-old in Uganda right now is, before COVID, they were a typical Form 2 student who is just with the knowledge of Form 2. But what's a 14-year-old in Asia doing, or 14-year-old in America? So we need to give our children the opportunity of a leveled ground. So I believe let's come together as Africans, as Ugandans, contribute to this cause and support government to help our children.
We're going to take a short break, but when we get back, we'll start with that. Exactly, hold your thought a little bit. Let's take a very short break. When we get back, we continue this conversation. Thank you so much for staying with us on EdTech Monday. We've been discussing the future of work and how EdTech can improve that future of work in Uganda. And just before we took a break, Enoch had a very burning submission to make, so we'll allow you to make that submission before we can continue the conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Raymond, and thank you, my colleague, Shamim. Before we broke off, Shamim was trying to say that we don't need the 5 years. And that's where I have a challenge. You see, change is a process, and we have to be realistic. What kind of population are we talking about? What mindset do they have? I understand, and everyone knows, there are many people who even drop out of school without reason. If you look at our statistics, for instance, you realize that about 1.9 million children begin P1. By the time they reach P7, they are 700,000. Where is the 1.2 million? It drops off before P7. Quite a number of them, because we have UPE. So you cannot claim maybe the cost is high, because there is a free option. So the question is why? The mindset. So the mindset of many of our people is a big challenge, and we need to work on this, and this needs time. So you cannot say that immediately you transition from this to this without giving it time. So we need time to prepare the minds of people. Some will change, others will resist the change. Some of the young people, without reason, will actually not adopt the new practices that we are preaching, and they will just refuse. So we need time, and the government, in its wisdom, has adopted a program planning approach, and one of the key programs is the program of mindset change, because it realizes that there is a big problem as far as mindset of the people is concerned. Not only in education, but even in work, in many other areas, in agriculture, the mindset, it needs to change. And this is why government has said, no, we need a mindset change program. And under the new parish model, mindset change is a key area to handle. So we need time, analyze our challenges, get solutions, program them, put them in phases. Phase one, this is what we will do, and this is what we need to achieve. Once we've done that, then the next phase, this is what we will do, and this is what we'll achieve. Until we target our perhaps 100% or so, but which will come after some time.
Shamim, what's the space for private sector players in working with government? Because this is not a problem only government should solve. What's the space that the private sector has, and what would you ask of government so that you can scale solutions of education technology?
Right now, very many people have come up with solutions. There are actually many solutions that are using EDTech to get education to people, to children offline, to children online. So I would ask government shouldn't necessarily reinvent the wheel. It can support those solutions and better those solutions and standardize those solutions, because there are many solutions which might be replicating what's being done, and also maybe government can bring all these solution providers, all these EdTechpreneurs in one space, listen to them, maybe guide them, and then scale the solutions. For example, if there is and I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, if there's an academy like ours that's offering these specific skills for their future, like future of work skills, knowing that children are growing up in a different era that they need different skills, how can we get those? Right now it's accessed through internet, how can we get it offline and maybe scale it to low-income communities in Kampala and through maybe the KCCS schools? So I believe that government can collaborate, can call upon, you have this solution, what is it addressing? How can we support you? What do you need? And some of this infrastructure is not even a lot. It can be as simple as, can we make it subsidized on internet? Can we get you the support you need to maybe add more content, make it better, and deliver it in this area? Government calls on private sectors, like schools. Schools already have students, and schools are really doing a good job. They are trying to educate our children, but also schools need to be held accountable, to be reminded that you are educating these children. They are at school, or they are coming to you for solutions. Collaborate with these other players in the space who are offering this solution, because the ultimate goal is one. For the government, the ultimate goal is skilling the young people. For schools, the ultimate goal is the same. For the parents, it's the same. And even for the people using EdTech to provide these solutions, it's the same. So I would also encourage government to also call upon parents, remind parents that, we can all contribute to this, to the skilling. And so that it is it's one thing. We are all adding a brick to the schools, the government, the people doing these solutions. How can we have a conversation at the same table and solve this problem together? Of course, it's possible.
Yeah. Enoch, I want us to talk about the fact that when the pandemic happened, a lot of the education sector was actually stalled because children are not able to go back to school. That is going to have a ripple effect also on the job market eventually. And I know that many companies have laid off people, but there are also new opportunities that have been created by the COVID-19 pandemic. How is the government looking at these new opportunities and sort of realigning the job market to favor people in those opportunities?
It is true that so many things happened, and not only in Uganda, but across the globe, especially with respect to the education, the schools, even in the labor market. A number of people are laid off, and new opportunities are also coming up. Now, one of the things government is doing, and to rectify this situation, is the area of scaling. Government is investing a lot of money in skilling programs, and many new skilling programs are coming up, taking cognizance that the job market is changing, and especially people who lost jobs may actually not return to the same jobs. You've been working in the hotel industry, and the hotel industry is almost closed. You cannot wait until the hotel opens. So what people do is look for other opportunities. So government is trying to do a lot of skilling. There are so many skilling programs that are going on, some under State House and others under Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, under Ministry of Education. You've heard of Enterprise Uganda. A lot of skilling programs are taking place. And the idea is, how do we support the job transition from one job to the next available job? And skilling has been a key factor. And government is also supporting, in this skilling area, government is supporting private schools and private education institutions. She's calling upon government to support, and indeed, government has always worked through partnerships, like partners with the private sector, and looks at how best to support you, because you see, government, they say government is the people. If the people are not okay, then the government is not okay. So as a government, we try as much as possible to support the population, the private sector, to make sure that they do better. And one other way where how government supports people is through policy. And the whole process of policy making is participatory. And any person from the private sector can approach a relevant government institution and say, I am into this, and we think we can do better by doing this. Convince them, and a new policy can come up.
Shamim, as we bring this conversation to a close, I want you to just speak to me about what do you envision as the future of work, not for the world, but for Uganda and Ugandans, and what needs to be done now, or what can you do now to prepare young people for that future of work?
Thank you, Raymond. The future of work for Ugandans, first of all, is virtual as well, and because our population is growing fast, we will be very, very many people. So we will have work in the areas that really solve people's problems and fast, and it is going to be super competitive. That is from, if we can even take an example right now in 2021, there are so many options. Someone is not going to just wait on you to do something when they can get on another one. So the future of work for Uganda will be a very competitive work environment. It will be a technology-based still, because we can see we are not left behind in the virtual revolution. The future of work will have a lot of young people really seeking meaningful work. So they will want to offer value. So we will have people who will have a lot of self-leadership, and the people who will want to be managed will lose out so much because of still competition, and because of young people realizing that they can actually do work even remotely. So we shall have a growing gig economy. It is really growing. Right now you'll find maybe a young person has like 3 gigs, they are offering this job here, some support here, they are doing this. So we'll have multi-potentialists, people who can do more than one thing. So that's really the future of work. I would encourage young people to tap into the skills they have and hone something. Say, if I am a teacher, for example, my first degree training is a teacher. How am I being creative about that? I can offer skills development for young people. I can develop content in that space. I can skill teachers, I'm doing that. I can write books, I'm writing books. So it's not just necessary that I'm in classroom, so when COVID happens, I'm out. No. So the future of work will be, what value are you offering? The future of work will still be around collaborations, like how can we do solutions, contribute to our community. People are seeking more of purpose, like how can I contribute to my community? So we shall be seeing a lot of young people actually go in agriculture, even though it is really not favorable right now. So we are seeing young people actually wanting to contribute to their solution. We are seeing young people wanting to offer value. We are seeing young people wanting to be skilled, upskilling themselves without anybody saying so. For me, the future of work sees its growth in gig economy, virtual work, various one person doing different things, and people tapping into the global economy. They are going to get out of Uganda. So I would encourage all training institutions, and even as parents, I encourage parents to be educators. First of all, look at your workplace right today. See what has changed. You can see a lot has changed. Then how are you helping your children to develop those skills? You know, which tools are you giving them? Right now we need digital skills. How are you helping your children to learn that even away from school? So we can be ready for the future of work, which is going to be so competitive, which is going to be cutthroat, which is going to be full of abundance of skills and information. So if we want our young people to be chosen, we need to give them an X factor, not forgetting their own self-leadership, their character, their branding as an individual.
Enoch, what does government look at as the future of work, and is government prepared for this future of work? For example, our tax body is ready to tax a gig economy. Are you ready, for example, to provide technology and infrastructure across the board to favor this gig economy? Are you prepared for this?
Yeah, indeed, and already the government is doing a lot in so many areas. As she said, the future of work is virtual, and the training in the digital skills is ongoing, and the government is providing the conducive environment for that to take place. Government is providing conducive environment in many areas, the education institutions, the workplaces, so that we embrace what is coming. In the area of taxes, if you go into the tax system, you realize that government is also doing a lot to embrace the future of work. It is supporting especially the young people, because that is the focus of the future of work. These young people are the future employers and employees, by the way, and they are being supported in every aspect to make sure that the kind of work that we envisage by the time it comes, and also to make sure that our young people become competitive in the global market, because the skills you gain are not only relevant here, they are also relevant abroad, because the future of work is global. You can work, by the way, you can work from here and you are doing the job in the US, you are doing another job in China, as she mentioned, and all that is possible if the digital skills are developed, and the government is doing a lot. The new curriculum for secondary schools, digital skills already are embedded, are integrated, and I think for the future we are looking at how do we extend even to the primary schools, and perhaps even make digital skills compulsory, because the global economy is a digital economy, and digital skills are now a must. Of course, universities have been doing this, but now the secondary schools have taken it up. They are training in digital skills to prepare people for the global economy.
All right, thank you so much, Enoch. Thank you so much, Shamim. Thank you so much, our viewers, for tuning in and for watching this edition of EdTech Mondays. Of course, EdTech Mondays is a monthly conversation to discuss the education and technology space and the new innovations happening there and the conversations that further the EdTech space. It's, of course, held together by Innovation Village in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation. Thank you so much for watching us today, and have yourselves a good day.